Hello, babe. Welcome back for more Love Civilization Start Over. In last episode, we saw more events happen during the Age of the Evolution. And today we are actually going to be starting in the Americas. Mainly in New York. You see, New York for a while has been a democracy. But lately, there's been a lot of unrest in the country due to economic inequality. So there's been a lot of movements happening. No, not that big of a bush. Movements happening around like this region, like the main capital region, and a lot of people in this area want to elect a new type of government to the Congress and the presidency. So they will be holding a vote. Now there's three candidates. There's a Democratic, we'll just put D. There's a monarchist, but also a communist. And this is interesting because this is the first communist representative or candidate to run in any country. And what's weird is how divided New York is. If we look at this, the blue represents the Democratic population in New York, and the purple represents the monarchist land population, but the orange represents the communist, land populace. So, when this vote happens, the Democrats will actually get around 20% of the vote. No, let me fix this. 20%. The monarchs are gonna, actually not 20%, 28% more so. And then the monarchs are gonna get around 20% of the vote, which means the communists will actually get 52% of the vote in New York. And this means that not just in presidency also, this is the whole Congress too. But basically, this means that New York will become the first communist country in the world. It will be communism will be represented by this orange circle. And let me add it to the key. So yeah, I've added them to the key. New York is the first communist nation in this world, and that influence will quickly spread to the neighboring countries. Now, what is the reaction of the world? Well, their alliance is a little worried about this, but they won't do anything, because as long as they're peaceful, they won't intervene. The people elected the communists to power, so they're kind of fine with it. The Checkmark Alliance feels the same way, but the Trapezoid and Circle Alliance are a little worried about communism spreading. Well, not even Spain, just existing in general. I just realized there's some countries without ideals. Actually, that is pretty good to see, because it'll help me do what I'm about to do, because they're not worried like about New York itself, but other countries seeing this and being like, that's what we want our country to have. And no other place in the world has thought like of actually electing a communist, right? Oh god, Libya is a communist nation now. And this gets Africa worried. Now, the other countries in Africa will either go democratic or monarchist. Mainly smaller countries will be monarchies, while the bigger ones will be democratic. But what about Egypt? Well, Egypt used to be a lot bigger, and despite the ideals of this ideology being dead in the world, they are gonna be imperialists, but different type of imperialists. Egypt will be the first fascist country in the world. Like pure fascism. Like everybody does everything for the state. And the state comes first. But with communism, it's a stateless society that is born, like, supposedly for equality. Now the world's starting to get a little tense. But at least this country in the middle of the Middle East won't, like, flip to any of these ideologies, right? Like, they just want to be democratic, correct? Oh no. They're also interested in communism. So there's 3 communist countries in the world now, and 1 fascist country. Now, the world has been moving more towards self-determination, and they kind of don't want to go against this idea. So they will let these countries exist, but if they're aggressive, they might act upon it. Speaking of aggressive countries, Scotland wants the rest of the British Isles, so they're gonna take it. Now, this will be a quick war, because England isn't really that strong in this world. The Scottish will blitz out from their border, taking 2 cities right away, before the English do start pushing back a little bit. Not a lot, but then the Scottish will be like, yeah, no, we're gonna just send more troops in. You shouldn't have resisted. And the Scottish have just taken another city, and they come down here and take the capital. It's pretty quick war and pretty brutal war. So, what's the peace treaty gonna look like? Well, it's gonna look like this. With England ceasing to exist, Scotland now owns the entire British Isles. And how does Europe feel about this? Well, Europe is kind of uneasy about this. So, there's gonna be some new members in the Trapezoid Alliance. The Netherlands and France. They will both join the Trapezoid Alliance. and fears of Scotland crossing into continental Europe and try and take their lands. Now, over here in the Russian region, Moscow and Volga have been getting into a lot of disagreements lately. They're both democratic, but Moscow believes that they should have, like, direct access through this area for their military and stuff and everything they want to do, like through trade and stuff. But Volga says, yeah, you can, but you're paying a hefty fee to cross this line. And Russia's like, we're too broke for that. We need trade with Asia to help boost our economy. And Volga's like, no you don't. So, Moscow will take this as kind of an insult. And they will do this. Oh dear. Yep. Moscow has just launched an invasion into Volga. And they actually have pretty large front line heading towards the capital city. And they actually, start to, form an encirclement. But when Volga's military gets ahead out of the dirt, they push out against Moscow's troops, and they will push towards the border of Moscow. But this is when Moscow's gonna do something a bit surprising up here and send out a spearhead through this area with the goal to link up with Kazakhstan, and they successfully do it, splitting Volga into two. But when they do this, they convince Kazakhstan to help them out in this war. And they're gonna do that. So they're gonna push into Volga as well. And head towards these two cities over here. While Moscow focuses on this city. And they're gonna take out all of this. So Moscow will continue to grow their advance up here and break through these front lines over here, and they're gonna threaten the capital of Volga. They'll give Kazakhstan some occupation over here so they can take some troops over here and put them here, and Kazakhstan will use this to expand their front line a little bit. But then this is when another country gets involved, and it's a country that you wouldn't think would risk getting involved in a major regional war. Considering they just lost a world war. Finland declares war on Moscow and enters into the country. Now, Finland, keep in mind, they basically instigated World War V, and it was due to the invasion of Russia. So when they do this, they're met with a surprising event. A coalition will form against Finland and Volga, and it's going to include Russia, Kazakhstan, Estonia, Moscow, Sweden, and Norway. And the fighting's gonna actually start up here between the two big countries. Not the big countries, the two Nordic countries. I'm gonna adjust waist color, yeah, that's a little better. Let me, yeah, we're gonna have that color from now on. So, Norway and Sweden will push into the northern parts of Finland, and Finland doesn't have this area really defended, so Norway and Sweden are gonna have a bit of a day up here. They'll actually take like this much land in their first like offensive, but you know, Finland eventually gets a head out of their ass, heads back up here and starts fighting them, which leads to Moscow pushing them out from up here, and they'll actually push them all the way to here, over here, and then they'll start invading into Finland themselves, taking one major city, and with the help of the rest of the countries over here, Volga is gonna be quick fall when Russia does this and punches right into this northern area, and Moscow will also help them over here. They'll eventually be able to take all of this upper area, and they'll meet up over here and take all that upper area. Kazakhstan will continue their offensive in Volga, spearheading to this major city, and now forming another one, capturing this city, and Moscow would put the killing blow in by taking the capital Volga, leading them to surrender in this war. And now with this coalition fully focused on Finland, you would think Finland would try to surrender or meet for peace, but they're not gonna be able to, because Moscow, with the help of this whole coalition, will push into this country, push out West troops from here, start an invasion up here and throughout the north, and Russia will enter into here, taking a lot of land, eventually taking this city and these islands, and Moscow will meet them about halfway, and this whole area will fall. Then Estonia will make a surprise landing. They're not a very strong country, but due to their confusion, Estonia will land over here, and when meeting up with the Russians, they will start siege in the capital from this side, while Norway pushes in, takes another city, and at this point, Finland's gonna be like, okay, we surrender. When we're not losing our country. So, Finland surrenders, and now we can look at this major peace treaty. But before we do, this coalition was only temporary. So now that the war is done, hey, let's look at this peace treaty. And this is what the peace treaty is gonna look like. We're gonna go from north south. Norway's gonna get all of this and these islands up here. Sweden will get this. In fact, to do this, they had to make a whole new state. It's not gonna have a city quite yet, but yeah. Then Moscow is gonna take. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. Moscow's gonna take all of this. Russia is gonna take this. And this from the Volga. Moscow is gonna get the most land in Volga, taking all of this. And Kazakhstan will take all of this. And now Volga and Finland will be allowed to exist. Volga will be that color again. And no. And Finland will be the original color. But yeah, Moscow just expanded rapidly. So did Russia, Norway, and Kazakhstan. Why are they doing this though? Like, they're democratic countries, right? Communists as well. And they're the first non-peaceful communist nations in the world. And a lot of countries are like, okay, what is going on? What is happening? Why is the world going towards these extreme ideals and being so aggressive suddenly? So the world's gonna have formed something to help with like global tensions. Well, not really for it, but for it something. But with a like better system. And one with a lot less restrictions. And the country that will be reforming this is Germany. The United Nations has been reformed. And the first member countries are gonna be Germany, Vancouver, Mexico, India. I want democratic countries first. And is Turkey democracy? Yeah. And Turkey. Now, just because I said I want democracies first doesn't mean the communists and the fascists aren't allowed in this. But the communist nations kind of feel like this is a direct attack on their ideals. So much so that they will be forming their direct competitor to the UN. And every communist country will be joining this. This will be called the Communist Accord. And it will only allow communist nations into this entity. And this will officially bring us out of the age of de-evolution and into the Cold War. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys next time.